Hey, it's Carl Munson here. Hola, boa noite, as it turns out, on the 3rd of November, although this is the podcast for the 2nd of November 2018 for the Good Morning Portugal podcast. Carl here, host and presenter, producer, and apologies, desculpe for the late arrival of this podcast, but I had quite a busy and sort of reflective day, as it turned out yesterday, in Figueira da Foz, which is an incredible seaside town halfway between Lisbon and Porto in Portugal, and it has a vast beach and then a very interesting town, lovely museum that we went to. It was my son's birthday, so we took my son to Figueira da Foz, thinking that we could spend some time on the vast beach there. There's the kids in the background. Life goes on in the Munson household, and because it was raining, it's a very overcast and rainy sort of day, we met our friends at the museum instead, museum/library. Excuse me. Must have caught a bit of a chill on the beach yesterday, maybe. Incredible civic amenities of library and museum. We had a personal tour guide around the museum, an incredible collection of, what would they be called, ethnographic pieces? I don't know if that's the right word, but like sort of tribal, very local, indigenous, ancient pieces of ephemera. Is that the right word? From Timor and Angola, I believe. Some incredible portraits from a Portuguese artist. Forgive me, I forget his name, but seriously, check out the museum at Figueira da Foz, as well as going to the beach there. And also, I don't know if it's a temporary exhibition, but I think it was called Art of Seduction, and it was about how people in the Belle Epoque period used their fans as a way of... It's like before Tinder, people used fans, swiping left and right, and whether you had your fan open or shut signified whether you were interested in somebody. It was really like offline Tinder. It's quite incredible. So people have been doing it. It's just the technology's changed, but people's motives and behaviour really hasn't changed, has it, through eternity, time immemorial. But what I wanted to say, and I'm rambling now, but this is called Alterações Climáticas, which is a literal translation of climate change. I don't know if it's the word that's officially used in Portuguese, but I'm surprised that the storm that we had a couple of weeks ago, the devastation that was wreaked on the area surrounding Figueira da Foz, I was really surprised. It's like road signs snapped off. Trees, pine trees, snapped like matchsticks for miles and miles. This is trees blown over. We went to a little village quite close to Figueira da Foz, one of the coastal towns nearby, and the side of a building had been blown off. And there's all kinds of hoardings or whatever they call sidings of building sites and anything, bus shelters blown to pieces. And you would think this would make big news, and maybe it has. I'm just out of the loop, I suppose. I've got a cultural age here of about 5, I suppose, because of my grasp of the language and not watching that much telly. But I just thought it would have been so much bigger news, and I just wondered what the grasp, if you're listening to this and you're Portuguese or you lived here a long time, what you think the general atmosphere or suspicion or opinion is about climate change. Is it a sceptical country? And when something is really occurring, like, the climate is changing, it would appear, there are devastating weather occurrences. And I know there's a difference between weather and climate. But my feeling on this is that if we take the steps to address climate change from the point of view of we could be changing the climate, all that we do would be good anyway, whether it turns out that climate change is true or false, right? It's a bit like using less plastic or having less of a carbon footprint. If we turn out to be wrong, that'll still be kind of right for the bigger picture environmentally. So there you go. Alterações Climáticas is climate change, I believe. Biblioteca, another French resonance there for library. Beautiful library in Figueira da Foz. Really friendly, very welcoming of the kids. And museum, and we had a fabulous lunch there as well, just across in what looks like a block of flats, sort of the piazza of a block of flats. Fabulous neighbourhood restaurant. Had a lovely time, hung out in there. It's the one, I think it's Marbella, with beautiful aquariums in and a lovely atmosphere. Carl Munson signing off, saying goodbye.